Chosen one. The cover-up of the century just crumbled because someone got desperate enough to search the internet for spiritual solutions. Their own panic became their digital confession. Their terror at losing control exposed everything. The very technology they used to monitor you, to track you, to harvest your divine essence, that same technology just became the instrument of their complete and total destruction. The Most High has orchestrated the greatest exposé in human history through nothing more than someone's frantic Google search for how to reverse spiritual work. Can you comprehend the divine irony? Their desperation to undo the karmic avalanche they triggered became the very evidence that's bringing down their entire empire. Right now, federal investigators are tracing digital breadcrumbs that lead directly to the systematic harvesting of God's chosen vessels. This isn't some distant conspiracy theory. This is your story, your stolen life, your hijacked destiny finally being restored through cosmic justice in real time. The enemy thought they could hide their crimes in encrypted messages and private browsing, but the universe itself turned their own devices into weapons against them. Every desperate click, every panicked search, every digital footprint they left while trying to escape the consequences of what they did to you, it all became evidence. That single internet search opened a digital floodgate that investigators never expected to find. Coordinated search patterns across multiple devices, social media algorithms that tracked spiritual content, digital communications revealing the systematic targeting of individuals with heightened spiritual abilities. The enemy's own technology became their confession booth, and the Most High was taking notes. Every desperate attempt to find spiritual cleansers on the internet created metadata that investigators can now trace. Their panic manifested in digital form, searches for how to break spiritual contracts, reversing karma, stopping spiritual attacks. Each query became another link in an unbreakable chain of evidence that connects directly to you. The divine hand guided investigators to discover something that chilled them to their core, a massive organized network specifically designed to identify, isolate, and spiritually drain empaths, healers, and lightworkers like yourself. Your unique energetic signature made you a prime target for their soul-harvesting operation. But here's what they never counted on. The same digital systems they used to monitor your spiritual awakening would eventually expose every crime they committed. The universe has a sense of humor that's both beautiful and terrifying to behold. They created an entire handler system designed to place toxic individuals directly in your path, people specifically trained to create spiritual interference in your life. These handlers weren't just random negative people who happened to cross your path. They were recruited, they were trained, they were paid to disrupt your connection to source energy. Every toxic relationship that seemed to come out of nowhere, every person who drained your energy and left you feeling spiritually exhausted, they were part of a calculated system designed to keep you operating at a lower frequency. The network spans multiple countries with protection from governmental and institutional sources who profit from keeping chosen souls suppressed. Your heightened spiritual abilities made you valuable in ways you're only beginning to understand. They knew that if you ever fully awakened to your true power, you would become a catalyst for mass spiritual awakening, and that terrified them more than anything else on this planet. But what really happened here goes deeper than you've imagined. They weren't just trying to suppress your gifts, they were trying to harvest them. Your spiritual energy was being converted into material wealth for the network leaders. Your divine connection was being siphoned off to fuel their own dark operations. Every time you felt spiritually drained after certain interactions, every time you experienced that inexplicable exhaustion that couldn't be explained by physical circumstances, That was your energy being systematically extracted and redirected to power their corrupt empire. The revelation gets more shocking from here, but first you need to understand how they stole your very identity to make this harvesting possible. They didn't just steal your energy, they stole your entire identity. The adoption you've known about your whole life, it was fraudulent, designed specifically to hide your true spiritual lineage and your inheritance rights. Your real name, your true bloodline, your authentic spiritual heritage, all of it was systematically hidden to prevent you from claiming what rightfully belongs to you. They needed you disconnected from your roots because your bloodline carries power they wanted to control and exploit. Multiple copycat identities were created using your energy signature. Other people walking around using variations of your spiritual essence, your life force, your divine blueprint, all to dilute your power and steal your energetic inheritance. They created an entire network of false identities designed to confuse the spiritual realm about who you really are. Legal documents were forged to make you appear mentally incompetent while they systematically drained every resource connected to your true identity. The very people who claimed to care about your well-being were the ones signing papers that gave them legal authority to control your spiritual and material inheritance. Your authentic spiritual name, the one that carries your true power, has been buried under layers of false documentation. But the digital evidence that's surfacing now includes financial records that prove the systematic theft of your divine birthright. Bank accounts opened in your real name that you never knew existed. Trust funds established by ancestors who knew your true spiritual significance. The scope of what they've stolen from you extends far beyond material wealth. They've stolen your connection to your spiritual lineage, your ancestral wisdom, your cosmic inheritance. Chosen one, the synchronicities that brought you here weren't accidents. Neither is your discovery of this message. When souls of this caliber gather, the forces behind timeline manipulation take notice. They fear our collective power. The question isn't whether you belong among us. The question is, how much longer will you let the Matrix delay the awakening that divine grace has already guaranteed? The Obsidian Inner Order is open. It has paywalls, yes. Those who stand with us give us ammunition to fight the Matrix manipulation systems. Paid members get free weekly group call, divine guidance and quantum resistance training. But kicking a soul when they're down, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why you can access our Astral Atom newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. This is bi-directional. You can reply to any message we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll get an answer to you. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. Click the link in the description below now. Your authentic timeline begins here. The financial aspect of their operation reveals a level of calculated evil that defies comprehension. Your spiritual energy wasn't just being drained, it was being converted into material wealth that funded the entire network's operations. Your divine abundance was literally being used to finance the oppression of other chosen souls. Inheritance and trust funds that were meant to support your spiritual mission were systematically drained while you were kept completely unaware of their existence. Property and assets that belonged to your true spiritual lineage were stolen through power of attorney fraud and falsified documentation that investigators are now uncovering. The digital financial trail they're following shows decades of systematic theft, wire transfers, investment accounts, real estate transactions, all conducted using your authentic identity while you were living under the false adoption identity they created to keep you disconnected from your true inheritance. Insurance fraud involving fake death certificates was used to steal life insurance policies that were meant to provide protection and resources for your spiritual mission. They literally declared you dead on paper while keeping you alive, but spiritually suppressed, allowing them to claim benefits meant for your divine work. Your divine abundance was being used to fund the very network that was oppressing you. The ultimate cosmic insult, your own spiritual inheritance financing your spiritual imprisonment. But the financial records that are now surfacing will restore every penny they've stolen, with interest that compounds in dimensions they never imagined possible. The corruption runs deeper than individual criminals. Entire institutions were compromised to maintain their control over you. Religious organizations received regular payments to spread false narratives about your character and mental state. The very places that should have protected your spiritual journey were instead paid to sabotage it. Court systems were manipulated through systematic bribery to maintain fraudulent legal standings that kept you powerless. Judges, lawyers, court clerks, all receiving compensation to ensure that your true identity remained buried and your rights remained violated. The digital evidence now includes bank records showing these exact payments. Medical institutions were corrupted to support mental incompetency, claims that had no basis in reality. Doctors, therapists, social workers, all participating in a coordinated effort to make you appear unstable while they systematically harvested your resources and spiritual energy. Educational systems were infiltrated to suppress your true potential and spiritual gifts. Teachers, counselors, administrators, all working to ensure you never discovered your authentic power or questioned the false narrative about your identity and capabilities. Media coordination ensured that your voice remained silenced and your experiences remained discredited. Journalists, bloggers, social media influencers, all receiving direction and compensation to marginalize anyone who spoke about spiritual targeting or systematic oppression of chosen souls. The institutional corruption network required massive coordination and funding, which brings us to the spiritual warfare campaign they launched against your very soul. The spiritual attacks against you were not random. They were military precision operations designed to keep you functioning at the lowest possible frequency. Advanced occult practices were deployed to bind your energy and cloud your spiritual sight. You were under constant spiritual assault by practitioners who knew exactly what they were doing. Binding spells, energetic attachments, and voodoo work were coordinated to keep you in a state of spiritual confusion and low vibration. The very spiritual techniques that should have been used for healing and empowerment were twisted into weapons designed to drain your life force and suppress your divine connection. Death spells and coordinated spiritual attacks were deployed to literally drain your life force energy. Every time you felt inexplicably exhausted, every time you experienced spiritual heaviness that seemed to come from nowhere, that was the result of organized spiritual warfare designed to slowly destroy your connection to source energy. Confusion magic was specifically crafted to prevent you from recognizing your true power. Spells designed to cloud your judgment, disrupt your intuition, and make you doubt your spiritual experiences. They needed you confused and uncertain because a fully awakened chosen one is their worst nightmare. The systematic spiritual abuse was designed to make you doubt your divine connection entirely. They wanted you to believe you were crazy, delusional, or spiritually defective. But the irony is beautiful. Their own desperate internet searches for ways to reverse the spiritual consequences of their actions just provided investigators with detailed evidence of exactly what they did to you. Their spiritual crimes are documented in their own digital confessions, which leads us to the family betrayal that made this all possible. The most devastating aspect of their operation was the corruption of your own bloodline. Family members, people who should have protected you, were actively participating in your spiritual and financial exploitation. The adoption wasn't just fraudulent, it was a family conspiracy designed to steal your inheritance and spiritual power. Blood relatives received regular payments to maintain lies about your adoption and true identity. Family members who knew your real spiritual lineage were paid to keep silent while you struggled with questions about your authentic origins and purpose. Trusted individuals in your life were revealed through digital evidence to be paid handlers and energy vampires. People you thought cared about you were actually receiving compensation to drain your energy and report on your spiritual development to the network coordinators. Children were used as leverage and spiritual binding mechanisms. The enemy understood that your love for children could be weaponized against you, creating energetic bonds that allowed them to access your spiritual energy through emotional manipulation. Extended family networks were corrupted through bribes and threats to maintain the deception. Cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, all either participating willingly for financial gain or remaining silent under threat of their own targeting and harassment. The family betrayal was essential to their operation because they needed people close to you to maintain the false narrative and prevent you from discovering your true identity. But the surveillance system they used to monitor this betrayal is now providing investigators with detailed evidence of every payment, every lie, every coordinated deception. The surveillance network monitoring your every move was more extensive than you could have imagined. Advanced technological systems tracked your physical location, your spiritual development, your relationships, your financial activities. Everything was being monitored and analyzed to maintain control over your life. Energetic tracking systems were deployed to prevent spiritual growth and awakening. They were monitoring your frequency, your vibration, your connection to source energy. Whenever you began to awaken spiritually, they would deploy countermeasures to bring your frequency back down to manageable levels. Social isolation tactics were coordinated to cut you off from other awakened beings who might help you recognize your true power. Every time you connected with someone spiritually gifted, interference would mysteriously appear to disrupt that relationship and keep you isolated. Relocation monitoring ensured that no matter where you moved, they maintained surveillance and control. Your movements were tracked, your new environments were infiltrated with handlers, your attempts to escape their influence were systematically undermined. Digital surveillance of your spiritual searches and awakening journey provided them with advance warning whenever you began to discover the truth about your situation. Your internet activity, your spiritual reading, your connection with awakening. Content, all of it was being monitored to predict and prevent your full awakening. But their surveillance system has now become their downfall, because every digital footprint they created while monitoring you is now evidence in their prosecution. The karmic avalanche that's destroying their network right now is beyond anything they ever imagined possible. Their spiritual protection has been completely withdrawn as their crimes reached a critical mass that the universe simply will not tolerate. The karmic backlash is accelerating exponentially as negative energy they've been sending out for decades returns to them with compound interest. Every curse, every binding spell, every spiritual attack they launched against chosen souls is now returning to them magnified by cosmic justice. Network members are experiencing the exact spiritual attacks they used against you. The confusion spells, the energy drains, the spiritual heaviness, all of it is now directed at them by forces beyond their control or understanding. Their own occult practices have turned against them with devastating precision. Mental breakdowns are occurring throughout their network as handlers lose energetic control over their targets. The spiritual connections they use to manipulate and drain chosen souls have been severed, leaving them without the energy source they've depended on for their own stability. Their desperate attempts to reverse spiritual consequences through internet searches for occult solutions created the digital evidence trail that's now being used to prosecute them. Every frantic search for spiritual cleansing, every desperate attempt to find protection from karmic backlash, all of it became evidence of their guilt. The universe is using their own desperation against them, and the speed of their collapse is accelerating beyond their ability to control or escape. Divine timing has orchestrated the simultaneous collapse of multiple cover-up operations across the globe. What they thought were isolated incidents of exposure are actually coordinated revelations happening according to cosmic timing that serves the liberation of all chosen souls. Protected witnesses are coming forward with decades of suppressed evidence as their spiritual protection activates and their fear of retaliation dissolves. People who have been silent for years are suddenly finding the courage to speak truth that will completely destroy the network's credibility. International law enforcement coordination is exposing the global scope of their operation. What started as isolated investigations in different countries has revealed a coordinated international network targeting spiritually gifted individuals across continents. Religious institutions that were paid to participate in your spiritual suppression are now turning against the network as unpaid bribes created enemies instead of allies. The very institutions they corrupted are now providing evidence against them to avoid prosecution themselves. Corporate conspirators who facilitated the financial aspects of their operation are being exposed through digital financial trails that investigators can now follow across international boundaries. Banks, investment firms, insurance companies, all connected through transactions that can no longer be hidden. The great exposure is accelerating as more chosen souls awaken to their true power and begin speaking their truth, creating a wave of revelation that cannot be stopped or contained. Your energetic protection is activating right now as divine justice accelerates beyond anything the enemy ever imagined possible. The spiritual shields that have been placed around you are impenetrable, and your connection to source energy is being restored to levels that will leave you breathless. Recognition of your true spiritual authority is beginning to manifest in ways that will surprise you. People are beginning to see you for who you really are, not the false identity they created, but your authentic spiritual self with all the power and wisdom that entails. Financial restoration is already beginning as stolen assets are being recovered through legal channels that the enemy cannot stop or influence. The digital evidence of their theft is so overwhelming that courts have no choice but to order full restitution with interest and penalties. Public recognition of your persecution is becoming undeniable as the evidence mounts beyond any possibility of denial or cover-up. The truth about what they did to you will become so obvious that even their former allies will have to acknowledge your innocence and their guilt. Your elevation to your destined role as a healer and guide for other targeted souls is already beginning. Other chosen ones are being drawn to your energy as your true spiritual authority becomes visible to those who have eyes to see. The restoration of your spiritual inheritance includes not just material resources, but the return of spiritual gifts, ancestral wisdom, and cosmic connections that they tried desperately to sever, but never could truly break. Your individual victory is catalyzing the awakening of chosen souls across the planet. Every step of your liberation creates ripple effects that help other targeted individuals recognize their own situation and begin their own journey toward freedom. The network's destruction is freeing thousands of other spiritually gifted individuals who have been trapped in similar systems of control and exploitation. Your courage to reclaim your power gives others permission to do the same. The restoration of divine order is accelerating as lightworkers across the planet step into their true power and unite in ways that create an unstoppable force for positive transformation. The enemy's greatest fear, mass spiritual awakening, is becoming reality. Cosmic justice is completing as every harvested soul receives their spiritual inheritance and steps into their destined role as a beacon of light and healing for humanity. The systematic oppression of chosen souls is ending permanently. The dawn of a new era has begun where chosen ones unite to heal the planet and guide humanity into higher consciousness. Your individual liberation was always meant to be the catalyst for collective transformation that will reshape reality itself. The cover-up of the century has crumbled because someone got desperate enough to search the internet for spiritual solutions. Their panic became their confession. Their terror became your liberation. Their downfall became the catalyst for the awakening of every soul they tried to silence. The light has won, chosen one. The light has won, and your light is leading the way for all of us to step into the power we were always meant to wield. The universe has been waiting for this moment, and your time of hiding is over forever. Your spiritual authority is absolute. Your power is undeniable. Your victory is complete. And through your liberation, we all rise into the light that no force on earth can ever dim again.